Hello everybody, welcome to our channel. We are the Bourbon Brothers. My name is Gavin.
And I'm Jeff.
And today we are doing a review of one of my personal favorites, the 2017 Buffalo Trace Antique Collection.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of the videos we look forward to each year, and we appreciate Buffalo Trace providing samples for us to try. And, this is just, it's like the Triple Crown for us bourbon fans.
Sure.
You get this fall release season, and the antique collection is always one of the top attractions, if you will.
Certainly an exciting time of year. So following the format we've used for the past few years, we're going to just kind of do a breakdown of the nose and the taste for each of these bourbons. And at the end, rather than grading them individually, like A, B, C, we're going to kind of give you our ranking from like 1 to 5. These are all delicious bourbons in our opinion, so bourbons are rye, so we're going to just kind of follow that format.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go wrong with this antique collection, so they're trying to give an A versus a B plus versus a, it's just too hard to do with these guys. So we'll just rank 5 to 1, 1 being our favorite, and, we'll see how it goes.
All right, so we're going to start with Eagle Rare. Eagle Rare for 2017 is, again, a 90 proof bourbon whiskey, aged for 17 years. So, Jeff, on the nose.
Definitely get some sweet with some vanilla caramel up front. But it's 17 years old. There's no kidding. There's going to be a decent oakiness to it.
I'm getting a nice herbal tone here, and followed by that toasted oak. Yeah. It's a little sweet, kind of subtle sweetness, but it's nice.
Yeah, there's some tobacco in there as well. I mean, these are, with Eagle Rare, you're not going to be redefining a taste palette. It's fairly standard bourbon, but, it's an age statement that there's not a lot on the market to compare it with, and, it's always a good bourbon.
That being said, I am kind of getting like a moon pie pastry type of note with that sweetness. It's kind of like predominantly vanilla, but there's a little bit of like, is it cake batter or caramel mixed in? So it's definitely a nice nose.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Well, moving on to the taste. Cheers.
Cheers.
Jeff, that spice is really kicking into high gear for me, along with that oak note.
Yeah, I like that, that spice. You get mid-palate, you get that sweetness up front, getting that vanilla, that caramel type notes.
Yeah, it gets dry very quickly. The finish it's definitely long, kind of like a pepper pop to it, and just like a mouth-watering dryness with some toasted oak.
Yeah, that finish, it's nice, it dries you out, you get some of that, like you said, like peppery, some other spiciness to it. It's definitely quality.
Compared to last year, I feel like this is a little less watery, tasting. But this year it's a little bit more chewy. The flavors are bold. So yeah, it's nice.
I think this might be one of their better Eagle Rare releases in recent years. Sure. I think especially since we've been doing the reviews. So.
Sure. Yeah, definitely a winner here.
Yeah. So on to William LaRue Weller, the only wheated bourbon in the antique collection.
Okay, guys. So this year it is 128.2 proof. The William LaRue Weller bourbon is bottled and aged for 12 years and 6 months. So pretty standard. It's usually at least 12 years old.
Yep.
Jumping right into the nose. This is something I think we both agree on. Just a huge butterscotch bomb.
Yeah, it's big time butterscotch here. Very sweet. For me, that's definitely the predominant flavor coming through on the nose.
I do get a little bit more depth, I think. I'm getting some baking spices in here. I'm getting a nice bit of cinnamon, some nutmeg even. And then the sweetness is kind of like Red Hot Candies type of candy sweetness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a little bit of spiciness, but predominantly, like I said, I'm getting mostly the butterscotch.
All right, well, let's see how that folds out onto the palate. Cheers. Flavors are certainly bold. 128 proof is no joke. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting some toffee, getting a little bit of fig here.
I'm getting butterscotch, a little bit of sort of a marshmallow almost as well.
Sure, definitely.
For me, the first half is pretty sweet. Once you get towards the finish, it's a little bit of spiciness in there, a little bit of that oak.
Yeah, the finish is definitely long with, subtle sweetness, some more spice, and then a nice oak note to it. Yeah, definitely a bourbon with lots of depth to it, lots of different layers.
Yeah, I mean, year in and year out, this is usually one of our higher picks of the collection.
Yeah.
So certainly another good one again this year.
Absolutely. Well, moving on to the second barrel proof bourbon in the collection is George T. Stagg.
Yeah, after last year's release was very evaporated, and the release was pretty small. This year, it seems like there should be a good bit of Stagg available.
Right.
A large release this year. I think they had over 300 barrels.
I think it was 309 was the exact number, yeah. And only like 54% evaporation loss. So way more Stagg than normal. This led a lot of people online questioning the quality. Would it still be as good as it is normally? And we will tell you. Yeah. So this year it's 15 years and 3 months old, bottled at 129 proof. So I think last year was like 144.
Yeah, last year was a behemoth
Probably
on the proof range.
A little bit too high,
yeah.
I think it's fair to say.
I would agree with that.
For our esophaguses, but 129. So Jeff, let's jump right into the nose.
Definitely get some of that chocolate Stagg's known for.
Absolutely.
Fudginess on the nose right up front.
Yeah, it's nice, and it's got like a nice deep sweetness to it. That fudge Jeff mentioned.
Getting a little bit more corniness than previous years. The corn's coming through a little bit more.
Absolutely. Definitely getting some corn. I'm getting some toffee, some coffee bean even. Definitely the heat is present on the nose. It's definitely another behemoth, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Stagg definitely brings the punch.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about it.
Let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll take a taste. Cheers. It's hot with a nice, like, sweet, sugary, like, entry.
Yeah, I mean, most bourbons that are approaching 130 and higher, there's going to be some heat. There's no way to really avoid it.
Yeah.
This is pleasant, though. Nice sweetness up front. Again, with that fudgy chocolatiness.
Sure.
Some corn in there again.
I'm getting a nice tobacco note on the palate. And along with that coffee bean on the nose, the palate's more of like an espresso type of flavor note. It's nice.
Yeah. As you talked about, larger release this year. Quality, I think it's still pretty high.
Absolutely. I think it's a little less fudge and more corn this year. But I think in general, this is still an excellent whiskey that I would be more than happy to drink on.
Any day of the week, right?
There you go. Perfect. All right, so jumping over, transitioning to the ryes of the collection. First, we have Sazerac rye. This is the 18-year-old rye of the collection, bottled at 90 proof.
Yeah, so the old guy, if you will, here.
Exactly.
Before they had tanked it for a number of years.
Right.
So this year we got that newer style rye we've had last year.
Right. So this was a little confusing when I read the press release for this year because they noted that this was tanked in 2016. So it led me to believe that this is the same stuff as last year's release. However, I am getting a pretty different aroma and palate when I try this one. So maybe that tank has some effect, not on the age, but as far as overall taste and smell goes.
Yeah, that's hard to say.
I mean, I like it better than last year, so it works out for me.
Definitely.
Jumping right into the nose, let's do it. So I'm getting a subtle sweetness, and then comes all the spice and the oak. But it starts out with like a nice fluffy vanilla.
Yeah, a good bit of herbaceousness here, herbally, grassy note. Fairly predominant here for me.
It's extremely herbal. I'm also getting some mint leaves, which is quite nice. getting some allspice, some pepper spice, and just kind of loads of like toasted oak.
Yeah, I mean, at 18 years old, it's hard not to get some oak.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and take a taste. Cheers. I always like when I'm able to kind of combine different flavors to culminate and remind me of a particular, brand. But this is kind of culminating into like a cinnamon toast crunch cereal. I'm getting kind of like a sweetness combined with the baking spices of like a predominant cinnamon and kind of like a breadiness that kind of reminds me of like a cereal. But I really enjoyed this 2017 release.
For me, I'm getting a predominant, again, herbal grassiness to it. Not as much of that spiciness for me, but again, everybody's palate's different, and different people like different things. So that's just my take on it. There's some spiciness on the back end towards the finish, a little bit of spiciness there, and some oak as well. But for me, predominantly that grassy herbal note.
Yeah. And the sweetness is fairly subtle. The vanilla is really fighting against that 18 years and the wood. So it's trying its hardest, but that wood is really dominating. Yeah. Sometimes you're just in the mood for a really old rye or, say, a really old bourbon. And in those instances, Sazerac and Eagle Rare are perfect. Yeah. Okay, Jeff, so last but not least, our good old friend Thomas H. Handy.
The wild child, if you will.
Exactly. So this year's 2017 Thomas H. Handy is 6 years and 5 months, so it's usually above 6 years old, and it's bottled at 127 proof.
Yeah. So definitely youngest guy of the bunch by a good margin, and one of our sentimental favorites here at the Bourbon Brothers.
Yes.
The 2012 is still one of our top whiskeys ever, but
yep.
We'll see how that compares this year.
Absolutely. Let's jump into the nose. This year's release has a nice depth of flavor to it. I'm getting lots of fruits with like citrus and apples. There's also a good bit of spice as well.
Yeah, for me, I think this predominantly is more sweet than most ryes you'll drink are. You get some corn in there. You get some fruit sweetness, like Gavin alluded to.
There's definitely some black pepper spices. Going back to those fruits, I'm getting some like red fruits, like berries. It's kind of all over the place. Hard to put your finger on.
Yeah, there's definitely a variance of flavors here in this bouquet.
Yeah, again, a very nice nose for Thomas H. Handy.
Yeah.
Let's see how it plays out on the taste. Cheers.
Cheers.
On the palate, those fruit notes are much more subtle. They're not really expressing themselves as much. I'm really getting a dominant spice note.
Yeah, there's definitely a decent bit of spiciness there. Black pepper. It'll dry you out quick. I did some of that corn up front.
Sure.
This is probably the grainiest Handy release we've probably seen.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Much more dominant corn flavor.
There is a little bit of a rye bread element to it, I think, to go along with that graininess. So I don't know what happened in 2012, where it's like the best whiskey I've ever had, at least top 5 for sure. But it's definitely kind of taken a downswing, I think, since in years past.
Yeah, and since we've started doing this, from year to year, some of the labels have some ups and some downs. I think unfortunately, Handy's a little bit down compared, especially to 2012. But again, still a really good whiskey.
Absolutely, don't get me wrong. I'd be super amped at the opportunity to purchase any of these or try any of these. I think overall, I'm pretty happy with this year's release. I really enjoyed a few of these, more so than previous years. Some that normally wouldn't be in my top 1 or 2. So that's exciting. But overall, I think a very happy with this release.
Yeah, I mean, as we've said before, it's hard to go wrong with Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. Each year they're just really good whiskeys they put out. They're a top class, top tier type whiskeys.
And as always, the issue becomes how much are you going to be charged for it. So worth noting that again this year the MSRP is $89 per bottle. So with that, Jeff, do you want to jump into the rankings?
Yeah, I'm happy to go first here.
Let's do it.
I kick it off. You'd like to kick it off?
No. Go ahead.
So I'll just do bottom to top.
Okay.
For me, Sazerac is number 5. I thought it was just a little too much on that herbally palate, and that was the predominant flavor. I think a little more variance would have been good there. Number 4, I'm going to leave 4 open. I'm going to go with the tie for 3 between Handy and Weller. Both are good. Both are a little more well-rounded products, but not at the top of the collection this year. In the 2 slot for me is George T. Stagg. Again, I think Stagg is the most consistent product in this collection year after year. The flavors, the palate, they pretty much stay the same. For me, Eagle Rare this year really is probably the best Eagle Rare it has been. Now, it is not as, we'll say, varied of a palate. You're not going to get a ton of crazy notes out of it. It's more standard bourbon, vanilla, oak, caramel. But I think it does a really good job this year. It's super easy to drink without being watery as previous releases have been. And for me, I think it's just, from what I've tried this year, I think it's my top product this year.
Well, I have some different rankings for you guys.
I don't think any of ours line up, probably.
Yeah, I mean, there are no wrong answers.
No,
these are all delicious.
All great.
And especially with some of the older 90 proofers, you're going to be really into them or you may not be. That's just kind of how it works. So my number 5 would be Thomas H. Handy. I think that it's a little worse than previous years. For me, I'm getting more of a corniness to it than I'm used to, a little bit more grain. So that's why this becomes number 5. Number 4 for me is going to be the Eagle Rare. I think that it's a delicious whiskey, that it's more of a niche whiskey. I'm not going to drink it every day, maybe not even every week. However, I may one day want to sit down and just drink a really smooth oaky bourbon, and I think that's perfect. But most days, that's not what I'm going to be reaching for. So that's why it's number 4 for me. Number 3, for me, it's George T. Stagg, which is kind of surprising. It's usually one of my top 2s, in the past few years. But this year, I'm not sure whether it's the uptick and the amount available with the decreased, and is that associated with decreased quality? Who's to say? But it's, again, not as fudgy as it is normally. So that's why it's number 3. My number 2, and I'm really happy about this and excited about it. I really enjoyed Sazerac this year, guys. I think it's the same tanked. It's the same stuff from last year, just tanked for a year. It kind of reminds me of the old stuff, which was tanked for quite a while. So I'm not sure how the tanking process imparts certain flavors or notes on it, or if it does it all and it's all in my head. Who's to say? I really enjoyed it this year. It's spicy, and it has different layers of depth for me. I'm getting a little bit of sweetness with that. So Sazerac is my number 2. And of course, number 1. I'm boring, guys, as always. It's William LaRue Weller. I love this stuff. I'm getting that bomb of butterscotch that Jeff mentioned. However, I'm also getting some nice depth into it. There's baking spices, there's sweetness, kind of wrapped up in a nice balanced, weeded barrel-proof bourbon. I'm all about the barrel-proof stuff, especially this time of year when the seasons are changing and it's getting really cold out. So those are my rankings.
Yeah, so as you see, varying opinions on this year's release, but it's hard to go wrong with these guys.
Yes.
All quality products that,
Right.
if you can find them, if you can get them, do yourself a favor and just buy it.
Yeah, I'll be looking for the set at a reasonable price. So good luck to everybody out there. We hope you enjoyed the video. We are the Bourbon Brothers. We're happy to provide this review for you. We will tell you what to drink. Cheers.
Cheers.